Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Quest Redemption. Our first player is going to be Ariavel, playing as the brother captain of the Ordo Malleus. This is a slightly tanky melee hero. Not actually slightly tanky, he's actually very tanky. He cannot be knocked down or suppressed, can buff his speed and defense with We Are the Hammer. Next up, it's going to be Knight O'Shadow, playing as the Lord Commissar. This one actually slightly tanky. Does have a free energy shield, but it is a little bit on the weak side. Can also execute his own troops to buff them. And finally, for the blue team, it's going to be dustyaardvark. Dustyaardvark is going to be playing as the Force Commander, tanky melee hero who can buff and disrupt with Battlecry. Their opponents, we're going to start off with Stigma 8113. Hereafter, probably just referred to as Stigma. He's going to be playing as the Orc Kommando Nob, sneaky orc with bombs, guns, and knives to kill you all sneaky-like. Next up, it's going to be Khalin, playing as the teleporting warp spider Exarch, harassing units at ranged and teleporting around the map. And finally, it's going to be Skills, playing as yet another Lord Commissar. Lord Commissar right there, chasing down some scouts. Model has already been taken off from the scouts. Probably some of that focus fire from the Sentinel being laid in. Sentinel now focusing on the Tactical Marines, as the Tactical Marines and the Force Commander look to chase after the Guardsmen. The Guardsmen are just kiting them around, but there's a second squad of Guardsmen coming in here to help focus fire them down, and the Tactical Marines are starting to get to the point where they might be losing a model here. Scouts coming in to support, but I don't think it will be enough range fire. Sentinel Stomp also goes out, and finally, one of the Tactical Marine models goes down, and I think that will basically make it a one fight for Skills here. Force Commander is still here, and we even see he's mostly at full health, but with what's left, he's just going to get focused down pretty quickly. He can't fight all of this by himself. Meanwhile, over here, we are seeing Orcs having a bit of a better time of things on the other side of the map, currently being uncontested. Where are those Ordo Malleus? Oh, I see. They actually weren't even fighting in their lane. They were trying to double the middle, where we do have our Eldar player, Khalin, kind of getting forced off. Dire Avengers being forced off, although now they might win. This is looking kind of questionable. I think the thing here is that, okay, no. With the second Guardsman squad coming to support, this will actually definitely be a win in favor of Knight O'Shadow. And Khalin would also bleed a little bit harder from losing models. Although he hasn't lost a model yet, but it should be coming in pretty soon. Sentinel shooting in from the side. Don't know if the cover here, that green cover, is protecting against the Sentinel gunfire. But, okay, Dire Avengers finally do lose a model, but they held out for such a long time, waiting for their own support to come in. So I believe a generator or two was lost on this side from Ariavel, choosing to focus on that middle lane instead of fighting his own lane. Contested victory point hasn't even been captured by either player. We do have triple Inquisitorial Stormtroopers coming out of Ariavel. So these triple Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, it's a focus on, you know, just putting out a lot of units. The Stormtroopers themselves are very cheap to field. This gives you a pretty solid amount of range damage, and we also see some grenade launchers upgrading to these Stormtrooper squads. Inquisitorial Operatives also picked up by Ariavel, and oh, it looked like they were about to dodge that grenade, but then they kind of didn't. Inquisitorial Operatives are equipped with shotguns, but they don't have a shotgun blast, though they do have quite a few other abilities. Meanwhile, talk about some shotguns, or rather not some shotguns, but some grenades. We did have a very, very nice use of the stick bombs by that Commando Nob. Needs to get out of there to make sure that he doesn't go down, but what a play there, using those stick bombs on the Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Hit them pretty nicely and got some pretty good value out of that stick bomb's cast. Meanwhile, smoke bomb is going to be thrown out here. But Sluggers are looking to get into melee. Will they get into melee in time, or are they just going to take too much damage on approach? That does seem like it's going to be the second one that I said. Brother Captain does get into melee, though. Brother Captain now in melee with those shooters. Even the Inquisitorial Operatives trying to move up pretty far. Grenade launcher Stormtroopers are here as well, so this is not going well for the Shooter Boys from Stigma. Back on this side of the map, we've got a Flamer Tactical Marine Squad. Unfortunately, that Flamer attack also very, very close to potentially losing another model. We do have Devastator Marines set up. Ooh, this is actually a little risky for the Sentinel. Does manage to get around the firing arc, but needs to put enough pressure on the rest of the units here, particularly the Tax, so that the Sentinel doesn't get killed. Actually, I think this is 100% a dead Sentinel. Yeah, I mean, it was a risky play to begin with, and then he also got doubled over here by Knight O'Shadow, and that is going to be Skills in full retreat with also a lost Sentinel. Commissar hasn't actually retreated yet, but it's got to be any minute now, because otherwise he will just straight up lose the Commissar. Yeah, and then it finally happens. Back on this side of the map, our brother captain makes it into melee, instantly retreats once he makes it into melee. Realize he doesn't have much health left to work with, and there's a whole orc army coming behind him. Orcs moving in pretty aggressively, and with that, it's going to be a full retreat from Ariavel. It is the sluggers in particular who we really just can't afford to ever really get into direct combat with, aside from maybe with the brother captain, but certainly none of his squads want to get in direct combat with the sluggers. Flamer Tactical Marines, somewhat low on health. Now they're down to just about 50%. They tried to bash with the cover of the Devastator Marines, but the Devastator Marines will get knocked down. Devastator Marines, of course, will just set up again, which is part of the relative weakness of trying to use Catachan Devils as your counter to setup teams. They can kind of just get back up again, and they haven't even suffered that much damage. So we're seeing a hard flank going around the trees, and it's not even really responded to by dustyaardvark, so that is going to be him in full retreat. He is leaving a Knight of Shadow here by himself. If I'm Knight of Shadow, I think he needs to just kind of move back here. Yeah, 2 guardsman squads already in retreat, nearly getting wiped. Multi-laser turret will have to go, and the Sentinel will be pulling out as well, or at least it should be. Of course, the Sentinel can't retreat since it's technically a vehicle, but it needs to just keep moving back. I guess he's trying to actually kite and do a little bit of damage as he backs up, but I'm not sure how worth it really is given the relatively low DPS of the Sentinel. And he is still trading health, and normally trading Sentinel health for, squad models is a positive trade in favor of the Sentinel. But in this case, it could slow down his ability to repair the Sentinel in time to mount a defense against this push right here. Meanwhile, these shooter boys pretty much by themselves trying to deal with this contested power over here. The fight is happening here. There's a decent chance this brother captain goes down. It's a lot lower now with the disruption on those Dire Avengers. And does he make it? I think he makes it. Pretty close call, though. All right, there is a incendiary grenade thrown out by the Inquisitorial operatives. That is enough to scare the Howling Banshees off the field. Now they're going inside, although the effects might have worn off. It actually looks like to me the effects are still kind of there. It is 3 grenade launcher stormtroopers against the single Dire Avengers. Dire Avengers attempt to throw the grenade, but the grenade is dodged by Ariavel. Ariavel now in a bit of a rough position, and he finally does get his grenade launcher stormtroopers out of there, calling the double, since he is dealing with both Khalin and Stigma in this lane. Meanwhile, in the middle, well, of course, since it was a double on the left, that does mean that Knight of Shadow is here pretty much by himself. So we do have players in Tier 2 at this time. Knight of Shadow with some upgrades, getting plasma guns on his guardsmen. Pretty interesting considering he is directly in a lane against Khalin, where his plasma guns won't be so effective. But, in fact, yeah, I'm actually realizing there's not a whole lot for his plasma guns to actually be that good against. But anyway, here is the defense from Knight of Shadow and Ariavel against Stigma. They will force him off, although Stigma not suffering a whole lot in that engagement. He pulls off pretty nicely, but he also didn't get a huge amount of value out of his generator push. Node was taken down, but all of the generators still standing. Meanwhile, it does look like we're going to have a Commissar going down here. Unfortunately, I kind of missed exactly how that happened. Did see that there was a Commissar flare, did see that there was a Devastator Marine squad. Of course, dealing with suppression teams is a little bit tricky with the Imperial Guard. Now, the Commissar flare is definitely one option, and the Commissar flare is a great global, but it doesn't actually, disable the Devastators in any way. It simply reduces their range. Wow, just instant destruction on the model there. And wow, that Devastator Marine squad getting hit pretty hard by those grenades. The grenade effect seems a little weird when it's thrown in the water. Like, you don't fully see it. Anyway, this is a Falcon out on the field, but this Falcon is way too close. Meanwhile, Missile Launcher Sentinel trying to throw some shots, and by throw, I mean shoot. Shoot at the Falcon. Certainly will do some damage to it. Does decent burst damage. The overall DPS isn't so high, but these days doesn't seem too bad either. I feel like it used to be worse than it is now. Maybe the fire rate of the Missile Launcher Sentinel was sped up over time. But anyway, we do have some Howling Banshees on the back, just doing some generator bashing, pretty much uncontested at the moment, while most of the fighting takes place over here. And fighting over here is done. So Guardsman Squad in retreat, but they won't be killed in retreat. Not enough to really intercept them. Commissar chasing. Going to be a full generator bash by the blue team, but it does look like, oh, those Howling Banshees, they decided to retreat because it looks like they were actually under some pressure, did lose some health as well as a single model. So at the moment, Nido Shadow is actually doing a decent job of pushing the red team players back, and right now he is by himself. Does look like dustyaardvark is coming up to support him. Man, completely vanilla scout squad. Oh no, Sentinel is taken down though, just not really microed appropriately. Meanwhile, we are going to have a las cannon Rido coming in, trying to target, ideally wants to target the Falcon, but it seems to be targeting various other things. Falcon potentially in trouble, or not well, now the Rhino's also kind of in a suspect position as well. It's so close. The Bright Lance is about to set up right in his face. The Rhino has not moved yet. He must have his attention elsewhere, and this is also a Stormtrooper squad with meltaguns, and that is one dead Rhino. I don't know what happened there. All right, meanwhile on this side, things going a little bit rough for Ariavel, losing lots of Stormtrooper models on these squads, as well as losing an entire Stormtrooper squad. He's in Tier 2, but he doesn't actually have any other units. That is going to be the incendiary grenade thrown out from the Inquisitorial Operatives, but it will be a retreat before it does really have much impact aside from forcing the retreat. Howling Banshees in melee with the Devastator Marines. That is something that is heavily favors the Howling Banshees. They eat Devastators in seconds. But the Force Commander was also here getting some disruption to try to slow the Banshees down. Force Commander, I think, needs to back off, not reapproach. He will actually get stunned here. This means we have the Heavy Gauge Death Spinner out of the Warp Spider Exarch. Ooh, also going for the Anti-Grav Grenade. Anti-Grav Grenade is a fun one for that Warp Spider Exarch. One of the few anti-grav effects. Oh, Stormtroopers about to get wiped. Yeah, they're going to get wiped, I'm pretty sure, because there was no retreat. They weren't retreated early enough. Demolishing Strike comes out of the Brother Captain, but not soon enough. And okay. Yeah, I was going to say, why are they focusing on the Brother Captain? They need to focus on the Stormtroopers because they could actually wipe the Stormtroopers, and indeed they do. They might get wiped in the process, but considering if they don't even get wiped in the process, that's such a huge win for Stigma. I was going to say, even if the Sluggers got wiped there, they already killed 2 Stormtrooper squads, so even if they had gotten wiped, it would have been a positive trade for Stigma. The fact that he actually keeps them alive makes it a hugely positive trade. Ariavel losing the Brother Captain as well. Rough game for him. Probably should have gotten some kind of Tier 2 unit. All right, but things are not done. Victory points pretty even at 353 to 364. Grenade will be thrown in yet again, this one connecting with some guardsmen, and this is not looking too good for Knight of Shadow. I think he's going to have to pull out for a bit. As we do see our Orc player taking back the contested victory point for the blue team. So how about some of those commander upgrades? We do see the Aura of Discipline for the Lord Commissar. Often it's sometimes easy to mix up the Aura of Discipline and Stubbornness, since they are similar in some ways, but they kind of have the opposite effects, where the Aura of Discipline heals his men around him, and the Stubbornness warrior gives the Commissar healing when there are men around him, which even just the way I said that could potentially be confusing. Meanwhile, Terminator's already out on the field for dustyaardvark, the first player to Tier 3, and he made it there by far faster than anyone. Meanwhile, Inquisitorial Operatives are here. Oh, wow. Shooter Boy's getting really, really low. Inquisitorial Operatives may be seeing if they can finish off the squad, but they themselves need to be worried about possibly getting finished off. Of course, we did see that Warp Spider Exarch Heavy Gauge Death Spinner, giving you that nice single target stun ability. Very useful against any enemy commanders. And then that Anti-Grav Grenade. Haven't actually seen it used yet. I believe it is one of 3 anti-grav effects in the entire game, and I'm not sure how good it actually is. It certainly looks cool, and there are some combos you can pull off with it, but generally at higher levels, I don't see it actually being picked up that often. In fact, I think usually a lot of Warp Spider Exarch players, good Warp Spider Exarch players, will usually just go for the improved targeters, just for that easy, consistent value of having the extra range and extra damage on your Warp Spider Exarch. But what you can do with that anti-grav grenade, you can throw the anti-grav grenade, and then if you land it, it's like a relatively easy combo follow-up. You can have just Howling Banshees ready to pounce. You can throw plasma grenades from Dire Avengers right under them. And you might be thinking, well, why would you throw plasma grenade? Why don't you just throw the plasma grenade first instead of having to throw the anti-grav grenade? The anti-grav grenade just kind of sets it up so that the plasma grenade would be pretty much guaranteed if your execution is on point. Meanwhile, we are going to have some guardsmen as well as some stormtroopers taking down these generators. They only took down one, and I guess they took down the node, as I do see the node rebuilding. And although we do have these Terminators out of dustyaardvark, but there's certainly plenty of damage against them. We've got Kasrkin's now out for skills. He's got double plasma guardsmen. Meltaguns actually do bonus damage to super heavy infantry armor as well. So skills is not lacking damage against the Terminators at all. And Kasrkin's, they're going to be upgrading to plasma guns to just give them even more damage against them. Just make dustyaardvark's life even harder. Specifically, the lives of his Terminators even harder and short. All right, Commissar moving in. Commissar does have the Fist of Brachus. Unfortunately for him, the Commissar himself is taken down before he even gets an attempt to use the Fist of Brachus. We do see an attempted revive by the Brother Captain. This is getting a little bit risky. Grenade is coming in. It's an anti-grav grenade, though, and the Commissar makes it out alive, but the Brother Captain does not, trading his life out for the Commissars. Anti-grav grenade actually does affect allied units, and we did see the Kommando Nob himself was affected by the anti-grav grenade. Meanwhile, this is going to be some Paladins in melee with some Sluggers. The Paladins honestly need to get out of here. They do. What is this? Oh, this is Kaboom! What the hell was Kaboom for there? Aside from just to be funny. Knocked one of them, because it's... I'm pretty sure the Kaboom also does do friendly damage as well. So it kind of knocked over the Sluggers, even knocked... Oh... I'm liking these commando upgrades, as we do see, taking a look at our upgrades. This is definitely quite an upgrade kit. Special Shooter giving you that area of effect damage. Oh, rocks! We do have a Love Dadaka into the rocks, and that is going to be a pretty nice rocks. Doesn't look like... Ooh, okay, I think it did wipe one squad, but not the Ogryns. Ogryns just too hardy for that, but overall a pretty nice rocks. Meanwhile, Paladin's actually still in here, upgrading to Libra Demonica, but they're on the verge of dying. They teleported out, but I don't think they get out of here alive. I think the Seer Council are able to chase them. Can't see through those big-ass trees. Seer Council, can they complete this chase? I think they can. It would need to take, like, some disruption on the Seer Council. It's so close! And the Seer Council actually break off their pursuit. Some range damage still going in after the Paladins, but it's not enough. All right, big-ass grenades going in, as well as... I don't know why I suddenly have a big fondness of saying that word. But anyway, we do have the Fist of Brachus active. I don't know how much value the Fist of Brachus is actually getting here, using it in combination with the Ogryns. Although I like the intention behind the Aura of Discipline and the Fist of Brachus, as the Fist of Brachus does prevent units... it does prevent your allied units from dying, but they still take regular damage. So when the Fist of Brachus expires, or if the Lord Commissar is killed, then any squads that are already near death are going to actually die. The Aura of Discipline kind of helps to heal them up in the process. All right, Brother Captain soloing in melee with the Guardian Weapon Team. Guardian Weapon Team will manage a successful retreat out of there, while these Kasrkins from Night of Shadow just laying in damage. They do have plasma guns, laying in damage from afar. Plasma guns for Night of Shadow. Again, plasma guns for Night of Shadow does seem a little bit strange. Not really a huge bonus for him getting plasma guns, given that there's not really much in terms of super heavy infantry armor that I can see, or heavy infantry. How are things going on this side of the map? Not too well for dustyaardvark. Since I've last checked up on him, he has lost his commander, and he has also lost a squad at some point. But there's nothing going on there, so let's take a look back at this Kommando Nob, see if he can make it out of there. Again, I did point out that he does have that Special Shooter, does also have Kaboom. Kaboom is such a fun war gear, but it's also kind of like a bit of a meme, where the Commando himself just explodes. If by default, he gets knocked back as well, which is also something that just... adds a lot of randomness into it, where you could potentially screw yourself if he gets thrown into a bad position. Although, of course, the effect of dealing 100 explosive damage to any foes that are basically around him can be very devastating as a melee counter if you can catch your opponent that way. So normally, a lot of times you would want the Mega Boom Kit to pair with this so that the Kommando Nob is not knocked away. Does make the ability a lot less funny and memey, but also makes it a lot more consistent and reliable. Meanwhile, Ogrins are in cover. Ogrins actually do decent range damage, but they don't want to be fighting directly against the Blastas from the Flash Kits of Stigma. In fact, this is, you know, I'm only just realizing it now, but what is going on with Ariavel? He's got, like, no squads. I feel like he should get, like, one more squad, even if it's, like, he's already got the Paladins. Like, at this point, just get, like, a Tier 2 or even a Tier 1 squad. Another use of Kaboom there, knocking back even the Paladins, knocking them out of the Holy Ground, which actually is a pretty nice use of that. Oh, is this a rocket run? This is a rocket run. That rocket run hitting a bunch of units. Also hitting some friendlies. It is going to take down the Brother Captain, I think. No, he actually is so tanky that he lives. Brother Captain seeing if he can finish off the Seer Council, but he can't quite get into melee with it. So, now, the problem there, we did see the rocket run used. It certainly caught a lot of units, but I feel that rocket run was not as good as it could be. Now, part of the reason that I feel that is that you can choose the direction of the rocket run. And there, he made it so that the rocket run knocked his opponents back into closer to their own base, which makes it an easy retreat path for them. Ideally, you want to use the rocket run to knock your opponents toward you, because although I consider the rocket run the third best nuke in the game, but definitely one of its weaknesses compared to pretty much all the other nukes is raw damage. It does have relatively low raw damage, especially against tougher squads, Tier 3 squads. So ideally, in my opinion, what you want to do with it is knock the units, use the knockback, knock your opponent's units toward you, so that not only do you get the value of the damage of the rocket run itself, but you're able to follow up on it by continuing to put damage pressure on them after they've been knocked toward you and are just in a really bad position. Meanwhile, talking about bad positions, this Land Raider Redeemer, honestly in a huge amount of trouble. Talking about bad positions, this Fire Prism, honestly getting a little bit too close. I mean, right now he's just got the army advantage. He's just got strength in numbers, but the Fire Prism needs to be really, really careful about getting too close. The Fire Prism has much, much longer range than this. Does not need to be this close. It's actually close enough that the Land Raider Redeemer, I was going to say, might be able to threaten some Melta-shots, but I think the Land Raider Redeemer does just go down. So yeah, I mean, this Fire Prism, it doesn't die, it doesn't get punished, because there just wasn't enough units here to punish it. But again, the Fire Prism has, like, twice the range that it's operating at right now, so it never needs to be this close to really be under that much threat. All right, fight going on right here. Feels like the Eldar are a little bit outnumbered, but we do have a war shout coming out from the Howling Banshees, and the Seer Council are such a strong unit, but they're knocked down, and they are going to get dealt with by some Ogrins chasing after them. Anti-grav grenade is used, but the Fist of Brachus is active. Commissar walking away from his units, though, so the Fist of Brachus will no longer apply to them. Meanwhile, Wa Banner is active for Stigma. Stigma trying to push forward. Does get the knockback from the special shoot, a high explosive shells. We do have the Commissar, not the Commissar, the Commando in melee with the Ogrins. The Ogrins are actually in a huge amount of trouble. Why are they still here in melee? Ogrins are going to get wiped. Yeah, I mean, the Ogrins may be a powerful Tier 2 unit, but Sluggas are absolutely a unit who can stand up to them. Especially there, the Sluggas also had so much support in their favor. Sluggas all actually do so much damage. We do have Terminators trying to melee down this Baneblade, and they're doing a decent job of it. Oh, this Baneblade is completely by itself. What happened? We're seeing a rocket run in an attempt to save it. Unfortunately, again, this is another rocket run. Okay, no, actually, this rocket run, I think, coming out of skills. And this rocket run knocking units toward him, so I think that rocket run actually being used correctly. So this does enable some follow-up potential, but the Howling Banshees are running away, trying to chase after the Strike Squad and finish them off. Now the Howling Banshees ideally want to focus on the Paladins. Unfortunately, the Fire Prism is also doing some friendly fire on the Howling Banshees as well, so that's not going to work out well for them. Force Commander Terminator also there to support the Paladins. And look at this Force Commander, this new Force Commander Terminator portrait. This is a custom portrait from the Elite mod. Just basically, there was a time when the Terminator squad, the Assault Terminators, and the Terminator Force Commander all had the exact same portrait. So just as part of distinguishing them and making it easier to tell them apart in the Elite mod, we had some artists here who made some custom portraits. And it's actually such an awesome portrait. It's honestly better than the default one that came with the game itself. So really just want to shout out just the Elite mod artist responsible for that. Meanwhile, getting back to this game, we've got the Brother Captain getting really, really low on hit points, moving in. He's so low on hit points, he's guaranteed to go down at this point. So I don't know what he's quite doing in here. All right, he does activate Immortal, but I think if he's still going forward, oh wow, yeah, I'm just gonna say like if he was going to use Immortal, then he needed to use it to back out, to save himself, because as soon as he retreats, Immortal is no longer active and he just gets focused down. Then these Kashyyyks will absolutely burn down right through what little remaining health he had, even when he's in retreat. All right, Kashyyyks with plasma guns certainly very well justified for skills. He's up against Paladins, he's up against Terminators. Oh, we got an Orbital. Orbital, okay. Orbital must have... Oh, no! He's going to retreat right into the Orbital. Orbital does catch the Howling Banshees. I think mainly the big value here would be the Howling Banshees not even getting wiped there is a huge, huge win for Khalin. Serial Council going to be looking for a back cap, as we do see we now have... Ooh, this is looking kind of strange. We do have almost no victory points for our red team, but we also have not too much of an army for the blue team. So here is also that custom portrait for the Assault Terminator. So we actually see here, given that we have all Terminator variants for the Space Marine Army, we can see all of the different Terminator portraits. So I think my favorite one absolutely has to be the Terminator Force Commander, and I'm pretty sure it's the newest of them all, so I feel like that's why it's the best one. All right, well, strangely quiet at the moment for a game that otherwise has been very, very fast-paced. These scouts here from dustyaardvark, level 3 unupgraded scouts. Well, I guess technically they can infiltrate, but they have no sergeant, no shotguns. Getting a decap, level 3, that's actually pretty crazy. Warp Spider Exarch does sniff them out, though, so they will have to retreat. This is actually looking kind of suspect. Models will go down here, but I guess the entire squad does not. But Grenade on retreat, actually, now it's actually possible that this squad does go down. Oh, they were such heroes. Grenade in retreat. Oh, but they're finished off by the meltaguns of the Stormtroopers. Yeah, that was pretty suspect play to begin with, especially with scouts that have no sergeant. And eventually dustyaardvark does pay for it. RIP, level 3 scouts with no weapon upgrade and no sergeant upgrade. All right, 203 to 11. Game is still going. Baneblade is out for Knight of Shadow. It is the Baneblade. Unfortunately, the Baneblade does have one critical weakness, which is that it can't camp. It's an old school meme. I think it was long ago. There were probably some people complaining about balance, like long ago, probably before even Elite Mod, and someone, might have even been someone from Relic, probably tried to make some statement about how, like, all units have their weaknesses. The Baneblade can't cap. Anyway, Slugga's nearly dead. Holy Ground is used, but these Paladins are nearly dead as well. They've got an Incinerator. They're going forward, but they're just going into their deaths at this point. Even if they teleport out, the Paladins are just gone. Meanwhile, the Baneblade is moving forward. Baneblade just trying to make it so that the blue team can keep a hold of the contested victory point, but it does feel like they might be overwhelmed. Is that the Emperor's Wrath? It is the Emperor's Wrath from the Lord Commissar coming in with that off-map artillery. Red team looking to put a unit on the point to get the victory points going again back in their favor, as we do have Guardsmen coming around for a flank. Although, what do they get out of this flank? They certainly can't put a whole lot of pressure on the Baneblade. Not a whole lot, at least. Oh, meanwhile, Grenade goes in on them from the Acadians, the Kashyyyks from Knight of Shadow. But Knight of Shadow, for the most part, is forced off. Demolisher Cannon shot going in, I think? No. I thought I saw the targeting reticle for the Demolisher Cannon, but not going to happen. Meanwhile, on this side, we actually have a fight over these victory points. We do see the... Oh, no. Anti-grav grenade was used, but anti-grav grenade does not actually interrupt a capture, and this might actually be the game going in favor of the blue team. Because of this back cap by dustyaardvark. We see the attempted decap from the Seer Council from Khalin. Will it be in time? This would be such a close call if it is. Oh my god. Two left. but the Terminators also have such staying power. And we see Dustyaardvark just moving all of his Terminators over. With, oh my god, the cleansing flame out of the Terminator Force Commander. Just absolutely burning these Dire Avengers. Yeah, I think this is probably game in favor of the blue team, just with the raw tankiness of Dustyaardvark's units taking over these caps. Like, yeah, at this point, they need ability knockback. Is the Eldritch enough to do it? The Eldritch might be able to stall it. It might be able to knock them off the cap. It doesn't! The rocks coming in too. My god, they're literally just throwing everything here, trying to get these Terminators off the point, and they can't seem to do it. Finally, they do it, but we're going to have the Assault Terminators try to take over the cap. I don't think there's enough damage, and there's no ability knockback to get them off here. There isn't. And that is the game-winning play out of Dustyaardvark. The Rocket Run could have done it, but it won't. And that is it. We do have the game in favor of the blue team. They've got like no army left. Do hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.